Welcome to Amalgam Hour, the movie and comic podcast. I'm Robin.
No, I'm done.
Well, a film came out called Ant-Man Quantumania, and it's sort of taken the internet by storm as literally 99% of people hate it and made it a meme. So why don't Infernum give our opinions? And by opinions, I mean we're going to have 10 minutes of discussion about our opinions, and then I'm going to go on a huge rant about how it could have been better, even though I do like the film. There you go, there's my opinion. Now,
Yeah,
Dan, what's your opinion, my friend?
it's my opinion.
As a person who's watched it twice, might
Yeah.
add.
Every time Ant-Man's on screen and every time Kang's on screen, it's a good movie.
Okay.
And then we cut over to the Wasp and her dad, and I'm like, this is a bad movie.
Ah, I see. That's the thing. I learned a lot about. I was about to say I learned a lot about myself while watching this. I didn't come to a realization about the universe. I just realized that I really do like the Ant-Man family dynamic and their unit because I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything else like that in the MCU. Which is kind of funny because we won't be able to call the Fantastic Four Marvel's first family because it would have
Ant-Man's okay.
been Ant-Man. But I do love this little unit. But I get exactly what you're saying, where Kang, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm not even gonna lie. I almost cried anytime I saw him on screen. If anyone knows me well enough, they know I like two characters. Kang, and what's the other one, Dan? What's the other character we've made 1,000
I
episodes
don't know.
about?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. It's been a while.
What's the guy I literally have the poster on my wall right? And Moon Knight, okay? I love those two characters. So that one issue where they fought, I love that. But we're not here to discuss that. That's another episode. But I was so excited to see him, but just the story around him lacked ever so much. Just
Yeah.
ever so much. But, okay, I want to ask you a question. What did you think about the quantum realm in this film? Like the
I
look
think it
of
looks
it
good.
and the
I think it looks
general
good.
thing. Okay, that's fair
I,
enough.
I like the idea of the characters that were. I don't think they were the best executed, but the idea behind them,
Yes,
how
yeah.
the character designs, I think were good.
Yes, that robot with the light for the head. I'm,
Almost cried when he died.
I, I cried when that guy got holes. Oh yeah, this is a spoiler review, by the way. We don't give a shit. But yeah, I didn't mind the look of it. But I'll get more onto the look of this film when we
I think it was
discuss
consistent
this.
with the last two films.
Yeah, I guess. What do you mean by that?
Color
What do you
grading
mean?
and everything.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna get onto the CGI in just a little bit.
It's
I
not as bad as everyone made it seem.
No,
Okay.
it's not as bad. I'm not getting there yet. I said in a little
Yeah.
bit. The characters of this world I didn't give a rat's ass about. I can't lie. I
Yeah.
physically didn't give a shit about.
It wasn't. They didn't have enough presence or screen time.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you narrow down some of those characters and made them maybe characters we know or something like that, then um, it would be better. But I'm going to get into that in my section. But okay, CGI. The only problem I had with this film was every background was CGI. Do you get what I mean?
It had to be kind of because the quantum realm,
That's
but
the
also
thing.
when we were in
Yeah.
the small areas, like in a camp or something, or inside Kang's thing, it was like maybe you could have done a
Yes.
tactical
I was literally about to say
build.
my favorite part of this whole film is when it's Kang, Cassie and Scott are in the little prison cells because that
The
is a
prison
set.
rooms.
That is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like their discussion with Bill Murray's character. Why couldn't have that been in a room? Why couldn't have that been in a large hall and we actually make the
So why is
props and
Bill
everything?
Murray there?
Yes, that as well. I don't think that scene was useful whatso freaking ever.
They hyped him up as such a big character in this film. He
And he
got a
was
poster
literally,
alongside Ant-Man and Kang.
yeah, and he was there to hand them over to Kang. Modoc could have done
No, because he
that.
didn't even do that. He
That's
died.
true. That's that. Well, he didn't die because we didn't want
Definitely died.
Scott. We no. They specifically show that he doesn't die. He's just grabbed. I thought he was going to get grabbed and eaten, but no, he's just grabbed and put in the air because I don't think they wanted Hank to be betrayed as a murderer like that. Which I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
He just shot about 800 people, but
Those robot androids with sentience, they're never explained as well. I changed that in my
yeah.
pitch. I can promise you that. But yes, that character is not needed whatsoever. It could have been another character. It could have been just MODOK. It could have
Could have
been
just
this,
cut
that, and
that
the
scene
other.
out in
Yeah,
its
potentially,
entirety.
potentially. Because you don't learn a lot about that. It almost begins to like create a character arc maybe for Hank, or you learn that Janet and him had a relationship in those 30 years, which that's interesting to
I
think
could have
about.
just. I think that would have been better if that was Kang.
Maybe, yeah. I think it was Comic Pop that said this, but it would have been not. It would have been either funny or interesting if almost every character you met, Janet had a relationship with at some point. Because like the 30 years for her was 600. Do you get what I mean? She had a lot of
Yeah,
time to fuck about in this, quite literally. But
literally.
yes, I wanted her and Kang to have a relationship
They
during
still
that.
might have, but
Yeah,
spent a lot of time together.
that scene where they just sat down next to each other, which the flashback stuff I actually do really love. Can't I?
Yeah.
I like the flashback stuff in this, and I do like.
But like, I think it worked.
Yeah,
Like, also showing how powerful Kang is by just showing what he's done before he got there.
exactly, exactly. We need to talk about the power scaling as well a little bit later on because I hear loads of people complaining about it, but whatever. But yeah,
Him getting defeated by ants thing.
yes, we'll talk about that
I
when we
don't know.
get to like the
We'll
climax.
get to it.
Yeah. So yeah, Bill Murray character could be removed, but back to the CGI point. Why wasn't a lot of this done on sets and stuff? Because for one, that would have saved money on the CGI sort of
I think
thing.
a lot of the time, what they're actually
Yeah.
standing on and interacting with is there.
Yeah, the shit
They
they're
still
standing on
enhance it with
and
CG.
interacting is there, but there's always a green screen, or the Marvel tends to use blue screen, a blue screen panel
Yeah.
behind them. You don't need that all the time.
It's always going to be CG heavy.
Yes, but that's my problem when the first Ant-Man films, the majority of the CGI is when we go small, when
Yeah.
we see the character shrink. But when we see that in a world that is also CGI, it becomes a little bit less spectacular and interesting, if you get what I mean. Because, and if maybe the the quantum realm, the not the outside world that can look crazy and goo-like and whatever, but maybe we took more time in buildings, in places we can situate our like brains in, rooms we can understand, you know. So when they get small, it's kind of like in the first couple of films when it was Ant-Man getting small in our world, and we see like a huge book and we see a huge gun. Do you get what I mean? So we
Yeah.
understand more. Because I noticed as well, we didn't see a lot of. We were never with Ant Man when he shrunk. Do you get what I mean?
But we were with everybody else.
Yeah,
We
and
didn't
it's
actually
like
see him. So I don't think we ever saw him small.
the only time we saw that was technically in when he went more like molecule level into the like the MacGuffin device at the end.
I think they did it as well after that. They
Yeah.
both got knocked out. Like
Yes, yes. Which that was amazing. Him just fucking smacking them away and just being like, deal with it, leave me the fuck alone. But yeah, it's never like in that Ant-Man. Do you know when he runs up the gun? You know,
Yeah.
we never get shots like
First
that
one
in
did the
this.
best.
Yes, the first one definitely did the best.
We also, I think, this one missed a lot of the things where, you know, in the other films where they actually like shoot like the things and stuff and make stuff around them grow and shrink.
Yeah, like to me, that's always been like Wasp steel because of in the second film she does that quite a lot. So that would be interesting if she kept using
But in this
that
one,
in
she
here.
just shot people.
Yeah, and that
And
would
they
be so
died.
interesting if Wasp, she has shrink and fly, but she also very often uses the grow and shrink things to win in a battle. Ant Man
Yeah.
uses both shrinking and Giant Man it'd be interesting if Cassie's character is a mix of them both. So when she becomes stature, she
Yeah.
can grow small, grow big, but she uses the technology of her mother to grow and shrink stuff. Like that
Yeah.
would be an
She
interesting
did it,
idea.
I think, in one scene when she broke away from the guards,
Yes, yeah, but
which is a good scene, but
yeah, until how can I put this? Until we get to the very end with Kang, none of the action is really compelling to me, like at
no.
all. I do, and I've seen
I
people
think the
shit.
end
Yeah,
climax
go on.
is where the action is like when I'm watching the climax, I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, yeah. If you showed me the flashback stuff and all the Kang pieces, including the climax, I'd be like, this is a good film, you know?
Yeah.
But the rest around that just sort of makes it meh to me, even though, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Also, Kang
I
doesn't
like this
actually
film.
appear until halfway through the movie.
That's true, which I don't understand, because we know Kang's going to be the villain of this film, you know? We've known that
If it
for
was like,
ages.
oh, this mystery man, like they talk about like this mystery man, like the Conqueror. Like,
Yeah,
if we didn't know he was in this movie and they said, oh yeah, and they just said the Conqueror,
yeah.
you'd be like, oh my
It
god,
would build up, and nerds like me would wet themselves. I heard The Conqueror
like in
and
Loki
literally
when he
wet
appeared.
myself in the cinema. Not quite literally as my jeans were wet, but almost. Yeah, if all the marketing around this film was it's Ant-Man versus MODOK in the quantum realm, people would be like, okay, that's weird, but sure.
This
And
is
then
an
we get to
Ant-Man
it.
movie.
Yeah. And then we get to
Yeah.
it and we realise MODOK is working for someone, you know, like Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine level shit. And I'm just thinking about that. Why didn't they use that as almost like a blueprint? You know?
Yeah.
Instead, they made MODOK in this, which that's something. Let's just get onto that. What did you think of MODOK?
He was there.
After all that long of a pause, he was there. Which you're not wrong. I
I didn't have
liked,
a problem with him.
yeah, I liked it being Yellow Jacket. The only thing was he wasn't taken seriously at all. When the rest of the movie was quite, the villains were serious, like Kang and his plot,
Yeah.
while the Ant family were being jokey. But then to also have another villain who's jokey in the same level, kind of annoying me. You know what I mean?
Especially considering Yellow Jacket wasn't really jokey in the first Ant-Man.
Exactly. Yeah, he was serious in that.
He was a serious.
Yeah.
Actually, the Ant-Man movies have always really had a serious villain.
Yeah, a serious villain with funny characters and funny powers to sort of distract from how serious the plot is, you know?
Yeah.
And then the one time they do try and make a comedic villain, it fails, like MODOK.
Yeah.
And obviously the CGI face, whatever. I like MODOK
I
in
don't
this.
think it looks bad.
I think it's not the CGI that's terrible. I think it is the design that is terrible. Why would
Yeah.
you make it look like that when you can make it literally look like anything? Do you know what I mean?
I reckon if you put a bit more like his face is perfect,
Yeah.
stretched out.
On on our Instagram, Infernum Comics, I put something on my story which was my design for MODOK, which I wanted it to be so throughout the entirety of the film, you only see MODOK in the mask. He is in the mask the entire time. But then that part at the end when he's getting like absolutely destroyed by I believe Scott, then we see that
It's
mask.
Cassie that gets him.
I think it was a mix. No, I'm thinking of the
So
scene where
Scott didn't ever really fight him.
yeah, that's true. I'm thinking of the scene where Ant-Man just grabbed Kang and just proceeded to smash him into a building 1,002 times, which was sick. But I
It was
wanted
just Cassie.
MODOK.
She grew big and
Yeah.
punched him in the face.
Which that's interesting to give Cassie a villain in this. That's something, you know. It'd be interesting if at the end he wears the mask the entire time, and then at the end when Cassie like punches him and defeats him, we see the mask crack off and break, and there's like half of the mask is off. And in my drawing, I have so the mouth is like wired open to like stay open all the time. There is scarring, there's burns, the eyes are peeled back without eyelids. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And we get someone who looks actually scary underneath that mask. You
But that
know?
could have been terrifying.
Yeah. And I
How,
wish,
especially with how he was first introduced.
yes, that part where he just rolls through and just keeps firing weapons, destroying everything. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Maybe what I heard about MODOK like isn't correct because this is like a fun way to introduce a character
I
with.
heard before going into this that he didn't actually kill anybody, but then I saw within 2 seconds that he did.
Yes. I'm like, he murdered a lot. Which I like that in the ending as well. We physically see Kang. We don't just see him like blast people away. He's disintegrating people in that final battle.
He's enjoying it as well. He's doing like
Yes.
he's got like some sick moves going into it.
God, I fucking love Kang in this film. He might be one of my favorite MCU villains already. Which
Yeah.
one of the problems people are having with him already is that we're going to keep seeing multiples of Kang. So people just want to see this Kang be the main villain throughout the MCU. Now, you'll have to correct me because you've seen it twice. Do you know when Kang is like shrunk down into that machine?
When he gets
Is he killed in that?
just disappears.
Okay, because my memory, I don't think this is correct anymore because so many people have complained. But my memory is he shrinks down into there, and then in the post-credit scene, which by the way, I fucking called that we were going to get like the Council of Kangs. I was watching it with my friend. I literally whispered in the ear. I was like, if the post-credit is 1,000 Kangs, I'm going to shit my pants. And guess what I proceeded to do? And I thought in that scene, the big like citadel of Kangs, they were all looking down at him chained up. But I feel like I've just created a false memory.
No, you create that because they said
Yeah.
in our post credit they said, what is he? The banished one is dead. They killed him. They're tapping into the multiverse. We have to stop them.
I don't physically get why they killed him.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, which that would be okay if he comes back again and it's like, oh, what is it? We have the He Who Remains Kang. We have the abandoned or like the banished Kang.
The
you know,
banished one.
but I want this Kang from this film to be the main Kang we see through the next couple of films.
I could see him coming back.
I hope he does. Which I like the whole stuff. When I seen Rama Tut and Immortus, I was like, oh, holy fucking shit! Okay, we're doing something here. I'm thriving. They're recreating comic panels. I'm there for it. As long as we don't get loads of their bullshit, you know? We need one central villain to be at the heart of this, like, upcoming phase and stuff.
I could see this Kang not being the main villain of Kang Dynasty, but being the main villain of Secret Wars.
Perhaps, or reverse.
He comes back in that one, but he's not actually the main threat in that first one.
My thing is, let's just quickly talk about Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty, or reverse that. But yeah, I want the Avengers to go up against Kang, while these other Kangs try and also stop Kang, you know? And at the very end, Kang is defeated, killing off the rest of the Kangs, but in doing so, they cause the multiverse to collapse, and then we get Secret Wars out of that, you know?
Yeah.
I don't really want a villain
Kang
in Secret
is like
Wars.
this necessary evil type thing.
Yes. I don't... Yeah. Oh, that'd be really sick if you destroy all Kangs. If you kill the same person in every universe, the universe, like, just starts to erupt. Or they do the TV... Because the TVA are doing the exact same thing Kang's doing, wiping out timelines. You could do it so if, for whatever reason, like, Kang knocks out the TVA, you then knock out Kang, there is no one to support the multiverse, and let's just say, like, we all of a sudden Doctor Strange is like, we've been thinking it's an infinite multiverse this whole time. It is, but it can't hold infinite. Do you get what I mean? We can only have a set amount of multiverses, you know?
Which version of Kang is running the TVA? Because we had that shown at the end of Loki.
Yeah, the one who remains.
Is that just Is that just the council that are running it now? Because the He Who Remains is dead.
It's true. Who knows? Oh yeah, because I forget that
So
I
we
literally
had
forget
Loki in
the
this film as
entire
well.
post credit of Loki is that Kang has taken over the TVA.
Yeah.
I
We had
what
Loki and Mobius in this one looking at a version of Kang.
Yeah, what would be sick if the post credit we get of Kang at the end of Quantumania is the exact same Kang we've been watching through this film. It's the exact same one. And I want it to be later in his timeline. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So he goes into that machine. What is that machine? It's a time travel multiversal machine. What happens? He is spewed out hundreds of years in our past. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he becomes Ramatut for a moment. He becomes Immortus. He becomes. I can't remember what the Kang's name is that we see at the end of post credit. I think it's like Victor Timely or something, I believe.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, no, specifically the one we see in the Loki post
Yeah,
credit.
the ones that we actually
Yeah,
talk, but there's
I
still a
want
lot of the ones
him.
who actually talk.
Yeah, I want to see Kang go throughout the years, and maybe like because he was shrunk into his time machine, every so often he'll just zip into another time. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could like that could be fun for the TVA thing, where it's kind of like the Sylvie thing, where she was running throughout multiverses. He's going throughout time in the in the main universe. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that could be fun for other films and stuff for him to appear. Because I want one Kang. Yes, we can have the Council of Kangs and we can have a couple ones we can name with their own like motives and character, that sort of thing. But we need one main Kang to sort of like
Yeah.
keep hold of this phase. Otherwise, I think they'll kind of people will lose disinterest in this villain if
That's what people are losing interest sort of in this multiverse saga because we've seen two Kangs and they both died.
yeah, yeah. Which
We've seen him twice and we've seen him be defeated twice
I'm
and he's meant
okay
to be the
with
next
the
Thanos.
one who remains because technically he's not Kang. He's the only.
He also had to die.
Yeah, he's the only. I believe Kang's real name is Nathaniel Richards, if that's correct.
Yeah, he's the one who was like closer to that.
Yes, he is like theoretically the only good Kang out there. Do you know what I mean? Even though he was doing immoral shit, he's the only one who's not like, let's just destroy the entire universe because I want to.
He still definitely did all this conquering stuff. I
Yes,
think this Kang though had the same goal. This is a version that hadn't yet finished it.
kind of, but like, oh, this guy is way more angry with this, and he don't cares what he
Yeah.
fucks up to get his goal.
He said to Janet like, "Oh, your world will be fine."
Yeah, which I love that idea. Which I wish they played in this film more. That he became friends with Janet, because we don't really get scenes of them except from the flashbacks. Which I'm like, that's so stupid. This is the whole like crux of the
The
fucking
whole point of the film.
film. Yeah, you know. Which that could be. I wish they
It would have been
developed
better
their
if I think
characters more.
all the Ant family were together the whole time
Yes.
instead of split.
When we get to my pitch, you'll see what I want to do to the fucking Ant family. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish that their characters were together more, so then we learn more about Kang because we see what he was like in the past, but we don't, and we see what he's like in the future. But how did he get from step one to step two? Do you know what I mean? And then him talking about those years in between where he grew angry at Janet would be interesting, you know? And it's interesting to see him almost care for Janet in those moments where, like, that line, your world will be safe. I don't see that as, because the MCU is all special, I'll leave it alone. I see it as, you were kind to me, I'll leave it the fuck alone. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, the world gets to live.
Yeah, which that's an interesting idea. And you could have set up Secret Wars in this, where what is his plot now? Because Janet left him to like die. I'm not gonna just fuck up every universe. I'm gonna fuck up yours the most, and that sets up Secret Wars. Do you get what I mean? That almost seems like a perfect character motivation for him now, but we didn't delve into that a lot.
Because he didn't really even seem angry at Johnny.
Yeah, which he should have. He should have been fucking pissed. He was literally seconds
Should have
away
been
from
throwing her around the
escaping.
room.
Yeah, he should have been seconds away from escaping. He was,
I think it
and
would have been
then
better if he got out.
she fucked it up. Hmm?
I think it would have been better if he actually got out.
What do you mean in that scene?
The end, like, Kang got, like, the crap out of thing.
Yes, yes.
Then he got out, and then he just got out.
He got out somehow, or they
It was
left.
meant to be like, oh,
Yeah.
just hope came back for him and
Yeah.
all
Okay.
that, but
Is there anything really you want to discuss about the film? Clearly, both kind of we like the film,
I think
but there's
it was
problems
fine
with it.
that he got battered by ants. I think it was fine that he got
Yes.
battered by ants because if anybody, even Thanos, would have got battered by those ants.
My whole thing is, everyone's like, how are we going to get Kang? He's meant to be the next Thanos, and we're watching him getting eaten by cans. It's like he killed Thor in another universe. I'm like, yes, but he didn't have his chair. That is the main point of his power. Yes, he is the suit, but like when I hear that he's destroyed Thor, I'm not thinking he walked up to him and like punched him really hard. I'm thinking he used his chair to like delete timelines, to delete Thor in the past. Do you know what I mean? In my like headcanon, he removed people's from Thor's history, which caused like Thor 1 to never happen. Therefore he's egotistical Thor and he's no longer worthy, and then just like killed him. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want to see from Kang, is him use that chair like a badass. Even though the punching scenes were cool, especially even when Kang didn't have his suit, he was a fucking
What I
force to be
noticed on
reckoned
the
with.
second time watching that film,
Yeah.
when Scott hit Kang, it was a lot quieter of a hit sound effect than when Kang hit him.
Yes. And I really like
It
that
made it
because
so much louder when he hit him.
I'm like, yes, Ant-Man is strong and he can fight, but without the suit, he is a regular fucking man. This Kang has conquered entire universes and is jacked because he's played by that actor who I fucking love.
It's probably that guy who was also in Creed.
Yeah. And him just smashing the face of Ant-Man, oh, beautiful.
Kicked it in.
Good. So someone should slap him about.
If
Slap
the
him about
helmet
just a
wasn't
bit.
there, his face would have gone splat on the
Literally.
floor.
And I've heard people be like, oh my god, why didn't Ant-Man shrink in that scene? Because he doesn't have his helmet. He needs the helmet to shrink. That is the whole point of Ant-Man's power.
He needs it to survive it, really.
Yeah. And I think isn't like this version like a gas in the MCU? Like the pin particles is almost like a gas
It's like
you
a
have
liquid.
to like breathe in. Yeah. Because they
Not
all
really,
have
no.
like the gas mask design, don't they?
Yeah.
It's
This is
interesting.
the first time in this film where I think he's grown big and taken his mask off.
Yes. Yes. I did notice that as well. I thought that was a little strange. But I'm okay with it because technically he is already tiny and he's just growing slightly bigger. Do you get what I mean? Which I was so hyped when he turned into giant man in the end of this, yeah? Because he's bigger than what he usually is, you know? 'Cause
Came through the clouds.
yes. The only problem I have, that shot of him stood at the border screaming, I fucking hate. I wanted in
I
that
think
scene...
the clouds should have stayed.
I wanted him in that scene to be like how they portray Godzilla in films, you know? We only see it from the down person's perspective as Scott's feet are just like dragging through the city, destroying villains and stuff, you know? Until we finally get the shot of like Kang in his big ivory tower looking at him, and it's just like giant man surrounded by rubble, burning smoke. We can barely like quite figure out the whole silhouette of Giant Man, and maybe even in this tower, Giant Man's still bigger than the tower, you know? And I was going to make a really weird reference to the character of the alien Way Big in Ben 10, but sure, let's go on this metaphor, shall we? They always portray him from a low angle no matter where you are, because he's meant to be that fucking huge. And it would have been sick if it's just like that giant man. And that scene where he grabs that pillar and just fucking like rugby tackles the shit out of Kang's like machine. He's like, no.
He
No,
just
no.
throws it, so he throws himself at it, don't
Yeah, which I'm like, I respect, and I wish that idea of
Kicks it.
him wanting to like sacrifice himself for this to be like fun. What did you
Yeah.
think of that scene where it was the multiple Scots and the multiple Wasps? What did you think about that?
When it was the Scots, I liked it,
Yeah.
but then it is just like the rest of this movie. I think the Wasp added nothing and didn't really need to be there.
That's the thing. I want her to be there, but give her the character she had from the first and second films. You know?
Yeah, she had no character in this film. She had
Yeah.
no need to be there. Would have been no different if she didn't get sucked into the quantum
Yeah.
realm at the start.
But that's the thing. Instead of writing her out, they should have wrote her with character. You know?
Yeah.
Because I actually think Janet has a lot of
The
character
only
in
time
this.
she did something,
Yeah.
the only time the Wasp did something in this film is after she'd already left the quantum realm and then came back.
Well, she
So you
also
could have
helped.
had the whole film her
She
already out.
she also saved him in that scene where he was small with the multiple versions of him.
Yeah.
She also
But
saved him
also,
there.
like that could have just been Janet
Yeah. Which I think, in my
or Hank.
opinion, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which is stupid title, should have been called Quantumania with
Long
the
ass title.
ant and the man being in a different color. You know, genius. The word is in there.
The Wasp shouldn't even have been in there.
Yeah.
It did at the end
Or
of this film.
yeah.
They showed the thing.
Or it's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, but the Wasp we're on about is Janet. Do you get what I mean? We're dealing with Scott and Janet's journey right now, and because they're both the character of the Wasp technically, and maybe she even like gets a suit or whatever.
Can't even say it's Hank and Janet because well, Scott's still the main character.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Is there anything else to talk about? I don't like how little
Hank
we.
loves ants.
I fucking love it. I love that Michael Douglas. I love him so much. He doesn't have like the snack or the aggression of like the first two films. I just think everyone's character in this gets diluted a bunch, including Cassie's as well. Where I'm like, Cassie does not interest me in this film. She doesn't interest me in this film at all, to be honest.
Oh, she's kind of there.
And it sucks because I love the idea of Stature and Ant-Man becoming like a legacy title and stuff like that, but they built her up so well in the first two, and then all of a sudden she's just sort of bland, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. That sucks. But
it was just like her and like I think she was best at the start of the film when like Scott just finds out she's got the suit and then he's like teaching her how to do like actual fighting with the shrinking.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind that scene. I could have called the film Ant-Man and Stature. Do you know what I mean? And then in the film actually called her that at some point, you know?
But they never do.
No, they never do. Even though when she first put on the suit, I screamed Stature like there was no tomorrow.
I was actually credited as that as well.
I was thoroughly enjoying this movie experience. But I think that's because I like the Ant family and I like Kang again. You know? And I wish...
It's not the story.
Yeah, I wish... Let's delete the scene with Bill Murray. This is just a hypothetical version. We delete the scene with Bill Murray. We lessen MODOK just a little bit. We remove some, like, the many scenes we have with the people from the quantum realm. You know? We maybe remove... Because currently this film has 5 main characters. Because it's dealing with the entire Ant family. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to focus on all of them. And have more of this film take place on, like, in Earth. You know? Because we never get to see Louise and any of the characters we love from those films.
It makes it seem like he had that because he had that business in the second one, didn't he?
Yeah.
It makes it seem like he became an Avenger, just dropped all his mates.
Yeah. As well as we never get to see Cassie's real mum or her mum's boyfriend, which were key components to the previous films. You know?
Yeah. They're at least they're mentioned.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's like they're just dropped.
Just
which I'm like, fucking.
So Jimmy Woo.
Yes, Jimmy Woo. He must remain. But is there anything else
For
you
some
want to
reason,
talk
we got
about?
that guy from the first one.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about from the review? Because if not, I'll go on to my
Um,
pitch of this film. Which all I'm going to do is go
want to?
like a couple of scenes and just
Yeah.
say what I would have changed with them instead.
All
Yeah?
I think we should add on the end of this, the very ending of the film,
Yeah.
Scott questions whether he's done the right thing.
Yeah. I,
What
I,
did you think of that?
I didn't mind that. The only problem is he didn't contact anyone. Maybe if in that
Yeah.
scene we hear him go, like, and that this could set up future films where he goes, "Oh my god, what have I done? Should I tell someone?" And then goes, "Ah, never mind." It would be funny if we watch him go back to the scene, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, fuck it, give me a sec," and he stands up, runs over, and calls, I don't know, Nick Fury. He calls Sam Wilson, and he puts it up, and he just goes, There's a problem," and then the film cuts. Do you get what I mean? And then that gives a reason for the Avengers to form again. It is just in case fucking any of this bullshit
Because
really
this guy.
happens. Yeah, this one cunt. Which means when we got an Avengers film, we don't need to have Kang's backstory again, because every Avenger will already know it from Ant-Man. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the problem with having multiple Kangs. We've got to learn every one of their backstories. And I know technically they all
Yeah.
link into the same, like, up until a point they all have the same backstory, but how does this one differ to this one, which differs to this one? Do you know what I mean? Okay, let me go into my pitch.
Go
So
for it.
I'm just going to go on a mad rant and let me know, and if you want to change anything that I've talked about or add your own stuff, make sure. The film starts off with narration, which I found the narration pretty fun. Do you know what would have made it funner? If it was fucking Louise who did the narration. For the past two
Yeah.
films, we've been having him narrate the fucker. Why is he not doing it?
Was he not here?
Yeah, that would be funny as shit, is if we're watching Scott go on his day to day, but it's Louise narrating the entire thing. He gives you an entire synopsis for what happened in fucking Endgame and Infinity War.
You don't even need to see him.
Yes, he could have just narrated those parts, and it's like how Scott's feeling, and in the montage where we see Jimmy Woo, add the gang there as well. A scene of them playing poker or pool, something just they're still bros, they're still chilling. Gives a reason for Louise to be like in the film a little bit more, which he needs to be. And then I want a hard cut from Louise being like, and Scott's happy, and Hank's still working on his projects, loving that his wife is back. And then he's like, the Wasp has become a major part of the company, and Cassie, well, and then it had cuts to that scene of Cassie shrinking the cop car. Why do we not get to see that? That sounds fun.
They wanted to get straight to the quantum realm.
Yes. And I wanted it so, and it didn't even have to be a long scene. The exact time it took for her to get out of the prison cell after she had that weird remark to that random ass character, we could have watched her shrinking that and then damage control taking her down,
Yeah.
and then the scene just carries on. The main problem I have with this is, why is there like a little trio as well of like Janet, Hank, and Cassie working together and being okay with her going to jail? And Scott's the only one.
They're all okay with it.
No, Scott's not.
Scott was the only one who didn't know.
Yeah. Why is it, in my head, it should be reversed? Scott is the guy who turned from thief into good person. Why is he not like, it's okay, I've been in prison a couple of times. Let me like show you.
So he has a bit of a character arc in it.
Exactly.
He's fine with it at the end.
Yeah. It's really weird how, I don't know, it's just weird how the characters are all paired up against Scott at the beginning. Like, they all look like they hate him at some points. I'm like, yes, he like made a book and shit, but like, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with that? But yeah, I've got Hank, Hope, Cassie have been working on a way to map the quantum
Actually,
realm, so exactly the
cut
same.
back a minute. Cut back a minute.
Yeah,
Cut
yeah,
back to
yeah,
the
yeah,
book.
yeah.
Why do they all hate him at the start of it, but then Hank at the end says he read every goddamn word of it?
Yeah, and I'm like, which I like that line, and it would be funny if everyone else was okay with the book except Hank. So then at the end, when he's like, I actually kind of loved it, I can't lie, and I'm a little bit jealous. That would be fun, you know? Not
Sorry,
everyone
I've
shitting
already
on
bought the
Scott
book.
for the first. Not everyone shitting on Scott for the first half. My Jesus Christ. Okay, so Hank, Hope, Cassie, they've been working on the quantum realm. Cassie is not a super level genius. She did not make this by herself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It would be fun if,
book came out of nowhere.
yeah, it would be fun if Hank is working on um the like I don't know what you like the physics behind it. Hope is working on
Yeah,
the logistics and Cassie's building it, you know? So Hank's given her somatics, and all she's good at is like welding. Do you get what I mean? And fabricating
yeah.
parts.
So
She's not good at creating the technology, you know?
it could be better because like that's sort of maybe I don't really know what Scott did, but that'd be sort of more in line with him.
Yeah, exactly. He's a thief, and it could be fun like that scene in the first one where he has to like break into Hank's house using smarts, not just like his super genius. We see Cassie do the same. We see the machine almost not work, and then all of a sudden she gets like a rubber band and a paper clip, and she forces it in there, and it starts working. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I want that. I want Scott to be proud, really proud of his family and what they've created, while Janet's scared, and she attempts to break the machine because she doesn't want her family to mess with who's down there. And this is the first setup of who's down there. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And yes, that would have been better if we didn't know Kang was this villain at all. You know? And it could be fun as she breaks the machine. That little paperclip flies off. A signal goes out, which is just hello, like hello from the ant family, full stop. And then all of a sudden we see the screen start to crackle, like purple. Like say it's on a monitor, starts to crackle purple as it says like signal, like signal detected. Dot dot dot. M dot O dot D, and right before it finishes, the portal opens up and they're sucked in. Do you get what I mean? We just set it up just a little bit more than what is necessary. Now this is my idea for it. Lang, Hope, and Cassie are forced into the realm. Janet and Hank are forced to stay behind. Like Janet physically pushes Hank against the wall to stop both of them from leaving. Do you know what I mean? Because Janet's
yeah.
too scared of what's down there, you know? And it could be the type of thing where, like, Cassie falls in, so Scott jumps in. Then Hope jumps in after him. Hank goes to jump after her, and then Janet stops him. Do you know what I mean? That would add some
Yeah.
tension between their relationship, you know? She's almost put the risk of her daughter's life. Do you get what I mean? Where I'm going with this?
It's
And
like
it
she just so much doesn't want to go back. She doesn't really care.
exactly, and that's interesting for
She
her
would go with
character.
her like really sketchy thing she's got going on.
Yeah, and until the end of the film, we don't see Hank and Janet physically. We hear their voice, okay?
Yeah.
And
I love it if they
then
reversed it and they made Janet backhand Hank.
just like smacks him across the room. That could have been fun. Or instead, we swap out Hope for Janet, you know?
Yeah.
Which, so Hank and Hope stay behind. So the Wasp in this film is Janet. As she's about to fly through the portal, she grabs Wasp's, like the little disc they put on their chest. She grabs hers and flies down because she knows Scott and Cassie aren't going to be able to survive without her knowledge. You know, that could be interesting as well. Split
Yeah.
up the party in different ways, sort of thing, without everyone being in the quantum realm. You know? Okay.
Yeah.
And it also makes it means whoever's on Earth are just side characters in this story, not the main characters. We don't have to spend so much time with them and how they're feeling about the situation, you know? Okay, and when that happens, everyone stays together. There's no this person flies off in this direction, this person flies off in this direction. The three main characters in the story stick together throughout the entire thing because that's how we create interesting character development between this entire group. I want them to meet a tiny group of survivors. So do you know that one building we had, the Alive building? That is a character because there's only one of him. Do you get what I mean? There is enough people who are survivors of the quantum realm to fit into that building and that building alone. I don't want a population of millions in here because that would both show Kang's devastation on this world as well as meaning we don't have to spend time with a lot of characters that aren't going to mean anything. Do you know what I mean?
Just been the building and those three characters
Yes.
actually have a speaking role.
Yeah, I in my head it'll be the robot, the goo guy, and you merge the woman and the telepath together. You know?
Forgot about the telepath.
Exactly. The character doesn't mean anything. He gets so many lines. I don't know if we learn his name or anything. So we merge those characters. I don't remember
any of their names.
Yeah. So it's three characters, that house, and a bunch of the small, do you know, like the jelly face dudes that we see a lot throughout it?
Yeah.
You know? Well, it's that. And when the team gets there, they realized their entire thing, they have like Janet Van Dyne propaganda everywhere, hoping for her death. Because, in this, they're like, oh, we hate Janet because of it. Show it. Make them hate Janet. Get to the point where if, like, say it's Scott, Cassie, and Hope, they have to not mention Janet at all. Because if they do, these three characters will turn against them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even still, you could do it so, like, the big robot attacks Ant-Man. Ant-Man, like, protects them. And it's that exact scene where Janet... I'm, like, confusing names because there's so many characters, but Janet fights that guy to gain his respect, you know? Why not do it with Scott, but he does it by accident because he was gonna fight the guy anyway because he was charging towards his family, you know? So you learn more about their culture and that they hate Janet, so now they can't even mention it at all. And then I want to go back and we see Hank and Janet use the device and like they latch onto a signal, that signal that MODOK created. They use that signal and they tamper it with the quantum realm machine that they have, you know, to create a portal to the quantum realm. And Janet's like, I still don't want us going down there. So what they do, they put one ant with a comm device on its back into there. And then a few moments later, all of a sudden we see a huge ant, or it could even be a tiny ant. Let's say it's a huge ant with that comm device on its back. And that's how Hank speaks through the entire time. Do you know what I mean? So we don't get them as physical characters with character development and stuff, but we're still able to get Janet's like monologues and learn about her backstory through. And it'd be fun to put on an ant. And obviously they call him Anthony 3. You know? Because they must.
Anthony. What? Because it's Ant-Man 3.
Yeah, because there was Anthony in one, then there was Anthony in another, and we need Anthony now.
Wasn't an Anthony in the second one?
Well, there should have been. And
There's only one.
Yeah, and just to clear up some confusion, because I've heard people be like, okay, so if you went to Australia and shrunk, would you go to a different part of the quantum realm? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I want them to explain in the film that if you shrink far enough, you will be transported to the quantum realm. So it's not like an infinite place. It is a very small place that you can only access by shrinking. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could even do it so there's only one quantum realm across the entire multiverse. And that's why Kang was thrown there. Do you get what I mean? So all the characters we're meeting, they've somehow all accessed the quantum realm, but they're from multiple realities. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So yet again, Shang Shang? Jesus Christ. I just read the word Shere Kang, and I read it as Shang. There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh, there you go. We're back to Shang-Chi. We're going
Yeah,
back in time.
Shang. Jesus, I said it again. Kang
Kang.
shares his backstory. Janet and Kang work together to get the ship until the telepath comes across Kang. So instead of Janet randomly touching that machine and gaining all the knowledge, it's literally the telepath stumbles across them one day and is like, what are you guys doing?" And then the telepath looks into Kang's mind, starts to panic. Kang goes to kill her, and Janet's like, "What the fuck's going on?" And the telepath shares that information with her. Do you know what I mean? It's so weird to me that they have a telepath character and they have a machine that has telepath like abilities when you could just make them the same thing. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah, I get
also
what you mean.
adds to that the telepath character as they were there the day their world was destroyed and Kang got his suit back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all of that. And even in my notes, I have maybe Kang and Janet had a relationship. And just as this happens, MODOK appears. So it's not the bunch of robots fight them first. MODOK attacks. And you may love this, Dan. Do you know the big robotic army we get?
Yeah.
Replace them with the creatures Moloids. Do you know the Mole Man's little critters?
Oh my god.
We had this is the origin. You're gonna see in this. I set up a lot of villains for future projects. You know, and I explain, and you can just be like, these creatures, they're like bacteria. You know, you can give them a cool, funky design, but it instead of having like a faceless army, we have small little critters that are attacking instead of like basic humanoid, muscly dudes. Do you know what I mean? Because if you got the silhouettes of the Shatari, the creatures from Infinity War, and the Nameless Army from this film, and silhouetted them all, I'd be like, they can all be the same. But if you have moloids, so they're like little six-armed critters that look like bacteria, and we can call them moloids, do you get what I mean? I'm just doing this so it's a little bit more interesting than what we got, you know?
Yeah.
And who helps them escape but Revka? Who the fuck is Revka, you may be asking? It's I name Bill Murray's character Revka, okay?
Yeah.
In my vision, his name's Revka, and he's a guy wearing a white and green suit, and he saves them, and because he's one of the survivors, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you call it? And then immediately he betrays them as soon as he learns that they know Janet because he's a part of the people that hate Janet due to her leaving them behind. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And Revka is a little Marvel character called the Psycho Man. Have I ever told you about the Psycho Man, Dan?
Yeah, many times.
This is where I turn Bill Murray into an actual character we could use perhaps in the future of the MCU. Okay?
Yeah.
And for the audience, Psycho Man is literally a character from the quantum realm in the comics. He's a small dude that pilots a huge mech to get resources from our reality. And all I'm doing in this film is setting him up so we know he's there. Okay? We don't need to call
Yeah.
him the Psycho Man. We just dress him in the outfit with Bill Murray's head poking out the top. You know? We don't need to mention anything other than that. But it gives another reason for Bill Murray's character to be there, and it's not going to be the long, blown out scene that it was in this film. It's going to be they see him, he saves them, he learns about their connection with Janet, and then he runs out into things, and he's like, "MODOK, MODOK!" And then MODOK turns around and captures them, you know? And maybe captures the team, except Hope. The threatened scene happens, but Kang removes their outfits, you know? Because I was thinking in that scene when Kang's threatening them, why don't they just shrink? You know? Why doesn't Ant-Man grow big at all? It just was a little bit weird to me that they didn't use their powers and it was for no reason. Do you know what I mean, Dan?
Yeah.
So he just removes their suits. And then MODOK is revealed to be Darren, doesn't remove the um, doesn't remove the helmet, learn that Molods are creatures controlled who can eat. And my premise for them is they can eat if they eat enough stuff. So maybe human flesh, maybe like walls and stuff. So we can have cool scenes where they will like dig out from the floor. They will produce. They will reproduce like asexually. Do you know when like cells can like split and then become two separate beings that share the exact DNA?
Yeah.
This isn't probably what thought you were going to hear, but here it is.
Oh no, I really didn't.
So they're
I'm
like
lost.
that, and it's literally
Yeah.
only because of something I want to do at the very end. Hope fights off some Moloids, saving Cassie, while Lang is forced to save the power source, you know?
Yeah.
Throughout the film, Janet shares a lot of Kang's plans, but as soon as the power source is saved, she wants to go there and sacrifice herself, to stop him, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's an interesting point. Is like once it gets to the end of the film, when he does have the power source, Janet still acts the same as she has throughout the rest of it. I want to see at the beginning, I want to see scared Janet, and as soon as he gets the power source, she becomes angry Janet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we do the same thing. Maybe Cassie runs off with the power source, only to get stopped by Kang, while Scott and Hope fight MODOK. So it's a little reversal of what we saw in the actual film. And then, what was it? Let's see. And somehow Cassie uses the device and the quantum realm machine that Janet and Hank made. Janet and Hank go to the they want to go to the quantum realm and they are going to suit up. Okay, and I know the whole point is if Hank suits up again, he is going to die. Hank knows this, Janet doesn't. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
interesting there. Hank knows that this is a suicide mission for himself, and I want that to become a big part of this end climax. You know?
What, is Hank gonna die? Or
Yes,
Vision?
Hank dies because he wants to. I want him to learn throughout this film. Family means a lot, and him and Janet are willing to sacrifice themselves to stop Kang. Okay, that's.
Yeah.
Are you getting where I'm going with this film so far? It's not a huge amount of changes
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the overall plot. It's just subtle things so that we have more time for the characters and characters are more
Overall plot is
interesting.
near enough.
Yeah, near
Same.
enough the same. Just little changes that really help like the flow of characters and stuff. And Hank comes up with the idea. Janet's like, "Oh my god, we need an army. Could we call the Avengers?" And Hank's like, "We don't need an army." And she's like, "What do we need?" And then no, this is some comedy. I want Hank to be stood in his garden and just say the word ants, just the way Michael Douglas does. And we see Ant-Man's gang, like Louise and everything, in a garden picking up ants and putting them in a jar for Hank. Just a fun little scene, you know?
Yeah.
Just
Does he say it
something
like
with
how he
those
says it
characters.
in the
Yes. I want
Ant-Man
ants,
promo?
ants, Ant-Man. Because that is the best piece of marketing I've ever seen for anything. Well, let's see. And brings hundreds of ants attacking Kang as he tries to get to his ship. So it's the same enough thing. Cassie helps the survivors escape. The tiny group of survivors plus the ants help run over Kang City as well as giant Ant-Man.
I'm
What?
gonna say Ant-Man runs over Kang while riding an ant.
That would be sick. And instead of explaining, oh my god, the ants went through a time displaced portal and then built a city, and no, they just made the ants grow big. They have that technology. We don't need to explain it with timey-wimey bullshit. Did you not find that weird in the film that all of a sudden they were like, they went to a different timeline and everything? I'm like, why?
Yeah. There was like one shot, like as they were going in, like,
Yes,
oh, the
yeah.
ants went somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Which I
Attacking
forgot about last
Kang.
time we got to it. But
Yeah, Cassie brings the survivors to the fight. MODOK grabs, let's see, I skipped a second. See, capturing the team, served hope, that's my bad. MODOK grabs Janet's suit and absorbs the pin particles, growing into huge MODOK. Just so we can have a big fight against MODOK and Ant-Man, as this was literally the first villain. Why don't we bring it for like full circle? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And instead of, do you know the plate that he uses to destroy Kang's like ship?
Yeah.
Ant-Man just grabs the big ass head of MODOK and just slams it into the machine, slowly destroying the MODOK suit until we can see the scarred flesh beneath. You know? Wouldn't that be fucking cooler? Kang's in the thing, he's like, oh no. And MODOK's like, you can't defeat him. And then Kang's just like, and no, Ant-Man's like, I bet I fucking can. And just full sprints at him, grabbing him and just rugby tackling him into the ship. You know? And that's how we get MODOK at the fight. He just gets fucked up. You know?
Yeah.
And then I want a big scene in between from Kang and Janet of them screaming at each other. We get the character development of, or we get the character backstory and what their characters are like. And then I want Kang trying to kill Janet, only for Hank to get in the way of that. You know?
Yeah.
And I want it to be like Hank grows big, takes the hit, gets one huge punch on Kang, and then all of a sudden his like molecules start fucking up, as both from the injury from Kang and as he can't wear the suit anymore. And he dies in Janet's arms. It's really sad. And I want a badass scene of, instead of Hank controlling the ant army, Kang's like, you may have got a good hit on me, but I'm able to defeat you now. Janet takes off Hank's helmet and puts it on hers and just screams. And Kang's like, you're still gonna die no matter whether your husband's dead or not. And then all of a sudden we watch all, like, the ants just swarm the building, and that's how Kang's suit is destroyed. And I'm okay with him being swarmed over, you know?
Yeah, it makes
We
sense.
we've seen many characters in this universe. In Infinity War, a bunch of characters being taken over by a nameless horde. That's what this is. We've just switched it so it's the good guys who are the like horde for once.
The good guys are the ones who have the horse.
Exactly. Why is it not that? And Cassie gets the final hit, like knocking Kang out. Pretty much the end scene opens the portal. What you call it? Janet steps through, or a bunch of the ants step through, and Cassie makes a joke where she's like, we're going to need a lot more shrinking tech, you know? And turns out
Yeah.
a couple of moloids have been on the back of the ants, so they sneak in as well. And then, like, Janet turns and goes, fuck, we're going to have to deal with them in wait. Setting up moloids being in New York. So what they actually are, they're bacteria from the quantum realm that was unleashed into our reality. And if you're like, well, if we ever meet Mole Man, how is there so many? Because they asexually reproduce. They eat loads, they split up like their atoms into two of them. That's how they build Mole Man meets his Moloids army. So I've set up the characters of Psycho Man and Mole Man in this one film without changing a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without doing a lot to it, simply set up two characters. And then I want the same Scott versus Kang fight. And instead, I want, like, Cassie to jump back through, using the power source to send Kang through time. That's what it is instead. You know? And maybe we even see... and then this is the post-credit scenes. And then the end can be exactly the same, but just like how it began, the narration is said by Louise, because of course it fucking should be. We can't have narration in the third film that isn't as similar as the first two. It is stupid, and I will fight whoever made that decision in the writing group. And then I'm messing with the post credits just a little bit. We still get to see the like Council of Kangs just being like, oh my god, the abandoned one has escaped. I have 3 post credits in this. 3.
Okay, interesting.
3 whole post credits. Instead of what you call it? One of the post credits is Kang either in the Victorian era or the Egyptian times is kicked through time, you know, because that's what Cassie did to him. Setting up And then it quickly flashes forward. He's either Rama Tut or he's Victor Timely, one of them. And we see
Yeah.
Loki and the TVA get him, or like try and get him. So we still set up that fine. And then what I want this is what I want. One of the post-credit scenes is MODOK uses the leftover pin particles in his suit to grow even bigger until he's the size of in our world. Okay? So MODOK has returned to our world and he's holding the Hank Pym suit. So the black and red suit, but because it's Hank Pym, it looks a little bit different to the Ant-Man suit. And this is where the fan theories go wild. As MODOK's holding this suit, it zooms in on the suit and cuts. The suit looks suspiciously like the irredeemable Ant-Man suit, from the comics, Black Ant, that character. And we set up another Ant-Man villain. In this film.
Ant-Man 4.
Ant-Man 4, or maybe if there's a Young Avengers project, or whatever Cassie next appears in, she can go against Ant-Man, and that could be fun and interesting. And we set that up here. And there you go. And what I also want, during this scene, I want him to bring a bunch of Moloids, and we just get a quick cut to outside whatever building it is, and just seeing Spider-Man getting swarmed by Moloids. Just for fun, Because Spider-Man is in this universe, but he's the only one who doesn't appear in anyone else's films, except if it has Avengers in the front. Everyone appears in his films, but none of the vice versa,
Because Sony.
Exactly, and it's like what I wanted in Hawkeye, when they're literally at the end of Hawkeye is where we last saw Spider-Man, in his post-credit. And those two things didn't connect? No? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but that's my pitch for what Quantumania should have been. Doesn't change much, doesn't change a lot of characters. Kills off Hank, but I feel like that would be a nice ending for his character. Maybe Janet and Scott are trapped in the quantum realm, but I feel like that will be too much like him being stuck in the quantum realm in between Infinity War and Endgame. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't change a lot. It keeps MODOK back on the table, keeps Kang back on the table, sets up multiple villains with only like one shot needing to set them up, Just little things to make you care more for the characters and to set up future Marvel projects. That's all I wanted. And there's my rant. And it's so funny because I've ranted for so long about what Quantumania should have been, even though I do like that film. I do like it.
Yeah, I still think I will stand by the fact that Marvel hasn't had a bad third entry in a franchise.
I will agree. I will agree with that. Fourth entries, now we're looking at you, Love and Thunder, and you sort of fucked it up, I can't lie.
A year ago, I would have said yeah.
Yeah. But yes. That is my version of the plot. Have you got anything to add to that? Do you like any of the ideas? What's your opinion on the Moloids?
Moloids, a bit random, but it's better than just a
useless
nobody.
Exactly, but you get why I did it, because it both makes the Nameless Horde more interesting, as well as sets up for a future project. And it gives a backstory for the Moloids. So you don't have to have the excuse they've always lived under the earth. Just be like, just watch that other film. So we don't have to explain it. Do you know what I mean?
They're gonna have another race of people who have been here this whole time that have just been hiding in the shadows.
Exactly. Instead, we have one film causes one thing to happen, which will affect an entirely different franchise. Maybe years from now, maybe it's never even mentioned in those films. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say we have a Fantastic Four film where Mole Man is a villain or a side villain. He controls the Moloids. Do we need it to be explained? No. Because it was already in that other film. Just small things. And we bring MODOK back. We set up Black Ant. We set up Psycho Man. Because now it could be without Kang and without Janet, without anyone in the quantum realm. Who took it over? It was that character. And the quantum realm is running out of resources. So he grows big. And he doesn't grow big. He makes a suit that is big enough to be in the real world. There you go. And All I did by setting up the character was putting the character we already had in the film in a different outfit. And there you go, set up. But it's just, I feel like the writers didn't care enough to put that much thought into both setting up the new things and giving enough time to the characters, you know?
Yeah.
So there's how I would fix it. And it's not an awful film, and I hate the idea of me fixing something as saying that the writers are bad for not creating my perfect vision, which that's obviously not what I'm trying to say. But there you go. There's Infernum's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, if you want an even longer title for that film. But there you go. This has been the Amalgam Hour podcast, and this is our review / pitch for Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania and Kang and MODOK and the rest of them.
Wasp out the title. She doesn't need to be there.
I'm just going to call it Quantumania. And thank you for listening.